Welcome everyone to another week of the Focus TV. This is season 9, episode 28. We have Octavia White here, Cardo W. Jr., Raymond Lyons, Wilson Tarver Jr. We'll get started as always with the Mystics. Cardo, you were in the building last night for things. It was a hard fought game. Outlook and pregame are up on the channel if you guys missed it, but I'll get the clips up there. Cardo, I wanted you to start just your take on how things unraveled down the stretch last night. And then Ray would like to hear you chime in as well.
Just a continuation of what we've been seeing all season. It's a lot of self-inflicted wounds, a lot of just mental breakdowns on both ends of the floor, especially with the turnovers and defensively. They honestly they should have won that game last night. Caitlin Clark missed a couple free throws. Got a clutch. They got a clutch basket with Citron and Onyware. They were up. Came down to one last possession that the Fever had. And the breakdown between Citron and Cody McMahon, that I'm still trying to see if they even give us any information from the coach's staff to see if something was called prior to that, if it was specific instructions. But regardless, it was confusion on that. Lexi Ho was taking the ball out on the far side of the court. Cody McMahon was guarding Caitlin Clark, and Sonia Citron was, I believe, she was guarding Kelsey Mitchell or something. So Caitlin Clark came down to try to guard. I think she tried to screen for Kelsey. If I'm getting it right, that's who Sonya was guarding. And then Caitlin Clark slipped that and was going out, and Cody McMahon signaled to Citron, "Yo, switch, go out." But Citron at the same time was like, "No, stay with it." And then she saw Caitlin kind of separating, so you know how athletic she is, how fast she is. She sprinted around the court and almost got the steal, but it was too late. And Caitlin Clark hit the game winning three. That's just a perfect example of the mental breakdowns that has the Mystics in a 4-6 hole right now, man. And it's part of young players learning how to play in a professional level. That just can't happen. If she gonna hit a tough three and win it, cool, but make it tough. That wasn't tough. All she had to do was catch and shoot, and that's one of her strengths. She knocked down like a 32-footer or whatnot with the game on the line after she missed a couple free throws. That pretty much, you see what I'm saying? Like the Mystics had every opportunity to take that game, even with Kiki out, and even with Cody McMahon, she covered ground and try to go for the steal. Why gamble in that situation? And if you're going to gamble in a way where it doesn't take you completely out to play, your momentum just it is no way for you to recover. She tried to steal the ball with her outside hand, which was her right hand, and that momentum took her way past Caitlin Clark, so she couldn't even recover. And she just tried to get it with her left hand. She could have hit the brakes and maybe took a couple steps to try to force a tough cover, like a forced contest, tough contest for Clark. Maybe Clark still takes another dribble, separates, and get the shot up. Who knows? But at least she'd have made her work a little bit harder. But regardless, you shouldn't have gambled. You should have closed out and just got in front of her, stay between man and ball, which is the main principle of defense, staying between your man and the goal. And she failed to do that, made a rookie mistake, and Caitlin Clark made her pay. And that's how they won the game. The turnovers down the stretch. After they fought so hard to come back in the game, the missed shots. Shakira had a real bad turnover trying to dribble through three people. That's a bad habit she get when she get the ball. She thinks she has room. Especially for that spin back when, defender kind of cuts her off and she likes to spin back. They on that, you know what I mean? So she has to understand that, it's just a lot of mental mistakes down the stretch that cost them this game. A game they should have won at home. They fought valiantly without Kiki, who went out with an ankle spray in the first half. They were down big and they battled back. And part of that battling back was they attacked Caitlin Clark. Look, man, we tell it like it is on the show. Caitlin Clark defensively is bad, and that's how they got back in the game. Like everybody attacked her, you know what I mean? But to her credit, she's mentally tough. She stayed with it. even with her missing shots, even with her getting cooked defensively. She stayed with it, and she was able to make the plays. Not sure that won the game. You know what I mean? So especially the game winner three, man. So the Mystics got to clean up a lot of things, and it's just mental things, just staying locked in on both ends of the floor with the little things, not turning the ball over. Don't have so many defensive breakdowns. Rebound the ball. Make your layups. Make your layups. One thing that was encouraging, I think this was a breakout game for Moore. This is probably her best game as a pro. She had 12 points, 4-6 shooting, 4 from deep, 4 assists. She had 3 turnovers last night, but they corrected it. It was 2. So 2 assists to 1 turnover ratio, you can live with that. You know what I mean? So especially with her, shooting efficiently, she also had some timely stops. She had one bad defensive play. I think she went for the strip on Clark, came down. It was unnecessary, and Clark was able to get to the free throws, and that kind of kept the momentum coming for the Fever to be in position to do what they eventually did, was win the game. So you gotta again, mental lapses being young. It's unnecessary to swipe down. Just stay in between. They attack you because they feel you small. They feel they can shoot over you. Just wall up. If they make the shot, they make the shot. But you can't come down there with picking up a foul, which hurts the team. Now they got your coach is gonna probably have to make adjustments, get you off the floor, or move you around so you won't pick up fouls because you're the best playmaker on the team. And it puts them one step closer to being in the bonus, which giving them 3 points. And you don't want that from an opponent that was struggling to score as is. So just those things is what I saw, man. They really got to clean it up. But that's part of the growing pains with having 8 rookies and 2 or 3 other players on the team in their second year. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough. We got a lot of work to do, though.
Right.
Yeah, I think that that last play was just a microcosm of all the Mystics ailments this season, like Cardale pointed out. Just that was just a young rookie mistake. Like in that situation, unless you know for a fact you're going to get that steal, you can't go all out like that. She was in good position just to kind of close out hard, chop her feet, make it difficult for Caitlin. Instead, she just walked into a catch and shoot 3. Like Ardell said, that's one of the things she's great at. And yeah, to lose one like that when you could have easily, made it harder, that's gotta suck. And I get it. She was trying to make an effort play to save the game, but you just can't gamble in that position because the game is literally on the line. So, but that, again, that comes with being a super young team. But they definitely got to clean up some of these other issues they're having, namely the turnovers. That's been the thing for them all season, and yeah, they just shooting themselves in the foot. If they clean that up a little bit, maybe they don't have as big as a hole to climb out of. So just got to keep pounding the pavement and reviewing their mistakes and seeing what they can improve on. But I was definitely glad to see Georgia Moore have this kind of game. She's been struggling, so I'm sure she was happy to see the ball go in the hoop, especially from distance, which the Mystics have been struggling mightily from. If she continues to shoot, I know she's not going to make every 3 every night, but if she can just make it respectable, that'll add another dimension to their offense, where they can kind of make some other things happen, make things easier on their bigs, give them better passing lanes to get the ball down there to them, and then work. So yeah, it was just good to see her kind of have a game like that, and I'm sure that would do wonders for her confidence as well. She at times she's been sort of hesitant to pull the trigger lately. Maybe seeing that thing go in, it'll ease her mind a little bit and make her more prone to take those shots, which they need. Like they need to stretch defenses, man, because people are clogging the paint and taking away their strength, which right now is their bigs offensively. So yeah, that's something they definitely need to need to continue to do well. But yeah, man, their record is 4-6. A couple of those games are winnable, but it is what it is. Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are. So they gotta clean up those mistakes and they gotta start to turn the corner. Um, we I'm sure they knew they were a young team coming into the season, so that's not going to be an excuse. They're here, they got to hoop, and they got to figure it out, man. Because even though they are young, they're super talented. We've seen what they're capable of. So yeah, the expectations are going to be different with that level of talent on your team. That's that's just what it is. Shakira, she had a breakout year last year. They had two rookies make the All Star team, so it's not going to be much room for sympathy. So yeah, they just clean up the little stuff, be more disciplined on both ends, and they should be fine moving forward.
And moving forward, that starts with Friday night. I believe they host Toronto. So it'll be the second time that they face the Tempo this season. Mystics folks checking with us Friday evening for pregame and Outlook as usual. Transition from the W over to the NBA Finals. Game three took place last night. Last week we shared our thoughts, pre-final thoughts, a preview, if you will. We're officially here now, 3 games in. Knicks lead 2 games to 1. Octavia, we'll start with you. Then Cardinal Ray. You got thoughts on the finals now that we're 3 games in?
Yeah, I guess I can start off by formally apologizing to the New York Knicks. I mean, honestly, I thought they were on, of course, a historical run that they've been on. They hadn't lost a game since April 23rd, and they've been playing lights out, but I really thought that the Spurs would disrupt them a little bit more in the first 2 games, but they were able to, stay the course and come back in basically both games and pull out a win to go up 2-0 in the series. Now, like you stated, they're at 2-1 from the game last night. I think the Spurs youth a little bit is showing, and not even just for the players, the coaching staff as well. It looks like Mike Brown is out coaching Mitch Johnson, who is also in his first finals appearance as well as a head coach. It just seems like, honestly, both teams have gotten away from what they were used to doing and what has shown them success for a majority of the year. You've heard multiple Spurs players say it, as long as we play the game that we've been playing all year, this team can't beat us. But you've seen them kind of get out of character at times. And even in that sense of it, they've played Jalen Brunson pretty decently. I know last night he had 32 points. I think he was 11 of 25 on shooting, but it's not the normal Jalen Brunson. Like, Jalen Brunson is working for everything he could possibly get. And we saw last night how many times let's start even in game one. You saw how many times he hit the floor in game one and how many times we were unsure if he would be able to come back from the ailments, and it picked right back up in Madison Square Garden last night as well. I think that this was a series that we all kind of really saw that this was going to be a very good one, and I'm glad it's shaping up to be. I'm glad the San Antonio Spurs were able to pull out a W last night to keep it close and us to continuously have a series, knowing that they'll have to at least go back to San Antonio. But I feel like maybe the Spurs have figured it out a little bit, but it also depends on if the Knicks kind of get back to what they were. As we've seen through this run that they've had, they've played a lot through Cat, and they didn't play much through Cat last night. Now, I understand the defense didn't probably allow them to do so. They picked up Brunson pretty far up the court, and there were a lot of instances and a lot of possessions where nobody else touched the ball but Jalen Brunson. It was a lot of dribbling, and it was a lot of trying to make things move and shake. But even with that, their team, it's hard to really pinpoint like who did what wrong at what point period of time, because both teams had their ebbs and flows throughout the game. OG Anunoby played a hell of a game last night as well. We know Landry Shamet is first off the bench now. Even Jordan Clarkson got in last night. I think he had 10 points in 11 minutes. So they have their others kind of clicking as well. I really just think it's also, we talk about games of runs, it's a series of runs too. Both teams are kind of fighting back and forth. The Spurs are starting off hot, and then the Knicks kind of walk them down, and then we kind of see the ball get tossed up in the last third quarter or fourth quarter to figure out who's really going to pull it together. I mean, the Spurs technically could be up 2-1. You know, they let a game get away. If you really want to get put into semantics, they kind of let 2 games get away. They could be up 3-0, really. But all in all, I think it's been an exciting series. I know a lot of people have talked about the atmosphere of them going back to Madison Square Garden. I'm glad that's over. I feel like the fanfare and everything of that has ended, and you know, maybe we can just get straight back to the basketball. I'm not saying that specifically distracted the Knicks or anything like that, because also I talked about OG Anunoby, Josh Hart. They've been leaving him open, and last night he was knocking him down, so he has to continuously do that as well. I think they need to get Mikal Bridges a little bit more involved as well. I think he only had 2 points in this game. But yeah, I mean, it's just up and down for both teams. So it's really who's figured out who next and who can ride the run longer. So I'm just excited to see the next game.
Cardell.
Yeah, hard-fought game, a game that we obviously knew the Spurs needed greatly. 3-0 is pretty much a death sentence. You know, they came out and they jumped on the Knicks. They jumped on something serious. And just clicking on all cylinders, led by Wembanyama and Stephon Castle. They got right to it. The Knicks battled back in the second quarter. I believe they scored 42 points in that quarter. They scored 42. Took the lead because of that. But from then on, you know, the Spurs climbed down, outscored on 58-47 for the rest of the game, and were able to pull it out. A couple things that I noticed that changed on the Spurs side, where you know Mitch Johnson deserves credit for the adjustments he made. He put Keldon Johnson on Cat instead of Wembanyama. Kept Wembanyama fresh. One thing about bigs, they don't like defenders up under them. You know what I mean? Smaller guards and wings, because it bothers them. They quicker. It's like a little gnat that you can't get rid of, so to speak. And Keldon has that quickness, but Keldon is also a big body wing. He's physical. So all the bumping that Cat would try to do that he was doing to Wembanyama, because Wembanyama's not strong yet to withstand it, or some of the other wings like Champagnie. He can't do that with Keldon. Now Keldon he picked up a few fouls, but you know, whatever. He's going to fight back. Like he's going to hit you back, and that could wear on Towns. And what that allowed to do, that allowed Wemby to get back to how he really wants to play, and that's roaming. And you know, he can use his quickness and agility, get out to the 3-point line, recover, get back to the basket, block shots or alter shots, or just flat out make the other team not even take the shot, dribble it back out, which is running down their shot clock. And more than likely, as the shot clock goes down, because they got to dribble it back out, it's more and more in favor as the clock ticks down of the Spurs getting a stop. Because now it's more likely you want to force up a tough shot or you want to rush up a shot. So that's really one adjustment. You know, I saw them make also, like Octavia said, they pressure Jalen Brunson further back in the backcourt to make him work harder to get into, you know, his sweet spot, so to speak. And that's why you saw OG able to be open and get off. And I think that's what the Spurs wanted. Like, if OG beat us, it is what it is. But we're not going to let Jalen Brunson, Carlton Town beat us. You know what I mean? And I like how Wemby attacked. And also that play that they run, the little horns play that the Spurs always run. That was another adjustment that they made offensively, where before Castle would just probe because he's trying to look for the lob, and then he would kick it back out to get into a 3-point shot, or they can get into another action or another set. That wasn't the case. Stephon Castle got downhill, and he started scoring. And then that made the Knicks defense have to worry about him. They started leaving Wembanyama to crowd the paint when Stephon Castle got his paint touched, and then that's when the lobs came. Now Wembanyama just saw the ball going to the basket, he got easy baskets. All of a sudden he's in 3-pointers and jumpers, and then the floodgates open. Now you had them two rolling. and it opened everything up for everybody else to pitch in as they went. Also, last thing Mitch did, he showed his rotation. The first 2 games he went deeper into his bench. Wasn't none of that. He went 7 deep, and he lived with it. For the most part, and mainly the starters outside Champagny, who split time with Dylan Harper. Majority of them played 36 or more minutes. You know what I mean? And Dylan Harper played 32, Keldon played 16, and Julian played 26. Luke Cornett, Carter Bryant. Luke played 9 minutes, Carter played 3. He's showing up that rotation because we need this game. And the thing I like also that he did late in the game, he kept the ball in De'Aaron Fox's hands to make good reads. I love the youngest. They're tough. But he had the ball in their hands, and it's going back to throughout the playoffs. You can see in OKC, they made some wrong decisions, some wrong reads, and it cost them games. When you're down 2-0, you can't. And we can't forget that De'Aaron Fox just a couple of years ago was leading the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. So he obviously knows how to close the game. You know what I mean? He just playing banged up and stuff, and the shots ain't falling. Last night it failed. He had that key jumper. They got the win. So those were 4 things I noticed that the Spurs adjusted, and they were able to pull out the win, man. And I think they found something. You know what I mean? Because now, for the first time, the Knicks have to counter what the Knicks did. What the Spurs did. And if we look at the roster matchup for matchup, the Spurs have a lot of big, strong, athletic guards, but the only 2 players on the Knicks that they really don't have an answer for is OG, because his size and athleticism and versatility is OG and Cat. Everybody else, they can play him straight up. You see what I'm saying? And that's the problem. So with Keldon and them kind of neutralizing, I ain't gonna say stopping them, but neutralizing Towns, it made Jalen Brunson get aggressive because he felt like he had a matchup. But against those guards one-on-one with Stephon on him, and that's the other one defensively, they put Stephon more on Brunson. They left him on there instead of switching everything. It wore Brunson down, made him work. You know what I mean? And a lot of things played into their favor, man. And now that the Spurs have confidence and they know how to win, and they did in that environment, with everything that was going on away from them and all that, you how can you not be confident? Because to me now, it's a lot of pressure on the Knicks because you don't want to go back down to San Antonio and it's 2-2. You know what I mean? That's a different ballgame. And for the first time, their backs will be against the wall in the playoffs because let's face it, they beat the hell out the East. It was just a smooth transition. So it's a chance they can have adversity if the Spurs stay poised like they did and execute on both ends like they did. So, like I said, coming in, I felt like Wembanyama was the key. And I felt like he played into the Knicks' hands, trying to stay on the perimeter a lot instead of mixing it up. And, look, all the games have been close. All the games came down to the wire. This could very easily be 3-0 Spurs if they just made better decisions in game 1, game 2. Like, that's what I'm saying. The Knicks are up. It's not like they were whooping them. And then the Spurs just kind of it's been very, very close. And that's part of the youth movement. You see what I'm saying? So, and I also, last thing that I'll pass along, that if I'm the Spurs, I'm encouraged. The Knicks went deeper to their bench. Guys that haven't really played the first 2 games, and all of them contributed something. Outside the start, Landry was off. He won for 8. He didn't play, but Jordan Clarkson picked it up. Jose Alvarado gave him some good production, man. Mitchell Robinson with a couple dunks and rebounds and stuff. Like, they went deep into the event. They went 10 deep last night. You know what I'm saying? And they normally don't do that. You know what I mean? So, and they got production pretty much from everybody. So you see, like, you start to see some chinks in the armor, so to speak, man. But the only question is on the Spurs side of things is like, can they be consistent and duplicate that now? Because now Knicks gonna come out playing desperate because now they understand what it is. We lose this, we gotta go back to San Antonio, and anything can happen with it being 2-2. You know what I mean? So, it's been a great series. I love the competitiveness. I love the physicality. I love that they letting guys play defense. But yeah, I think the Spurs found some advantages that they've been looking for and things that they can hang their hat on moving in the game forward.
Right.
Yeah, man, I definitely think a big factor was the Spurs were more poised down the stretch. and not as frantic as they had been in the first two games. Like Ariel said, man, all these games have basically come down to the final possessions, and it could have gone either way. But some of the Spurs' decision making and execution had them in a hole, and we just didn't see those things in Game 3, and that's huge for them, man, getting their first win on the road. Because if they lose that game, it's pretty much a wrap. It's hard as hell to win 4 games in the series, period. It's even harder to win 4 in a row. So they definitely responded to the call in Game 3, and yeah, they kind of they knocked the Knicks off their spot a little bit, because they were the things that were working in Games 1 and 2. The Spurs kind of took those things away. Octavian Cardell pointed out they extended the defense on Jalen Brunson, and it's just made it harder for the Knicks to get in the offense, and that caused the ball not to move as much, and it was a little more ISO play from Brunson, which trying to go one-on-one the whole game against those athletic, physical defenders is tough, man. So and the Spurs they're typically physical, but I feel like they brought another level of physicality to the game last night, and that also helped. Like sometimes that's just what you got to do, man. Everybody can hoop, everybody can play basketball. Sometimes you just got to be a little tougher than the other team, and I think they stepped it up in that area last night as well. So yeah, man, it was good for them to kind of make it a series. And yeah, the Knicks lose the second one at home. That negates all the work they did prior to coming back to New York. So yeah, the pressure is equal on both sides at this point. So yeah, man, I'm very interested to see how both teams respond in Game 4.
Yeah, like you guys said, it's been a fun series. It's crazy because just with the Knicks, like watching last night and watching again, like a little condensed version or whatever this morning, it's just like, how could you? The way that you got here was keeping playing through big fella, and for that to just, I know the Spurs did a great job, as Cardo you mentioned, having Keldon on them, be underneath them, took away some of the driving and things of that nature, but at the same time for the Knicks, it was just like it felt like all right, they took it away, so they were just like, all right, bet, like nah, you need that going for you, as you said. Now Wemby's able to roam. The other thing I just thought, like you guys all mentioned, the physicality, the intent the Spurs came out with, which was we're going to be in the paint tonight, and that didn't let up even after the second quarter, the great second quarter the Knicks had. I felt like the Spurs came out in the third quarter and reestablished the point that they came out to make in the first quarter. We're playing this game inside out. And whether y'all like it or not, this is where we're going to be. And Cardell, like you mentioned, one of the things coming out of the Warrens with Castle coming downhill now, like the Knicks, their reaction all through the playoffs when people get downhill, they kind of sink in and try to build a wall, what have you. With those guards over there in San Antonio, they don't care about your wall. They truly don't care at all. They're unbothered by it. They're just unbothered as a whole. And I thought just them getting routine paint touches just put the Knicks in so much trouble. And then if you're getting that deep paint position, the ball is getting kicked out. You're in rotation now. Next thing you know, as Cardell mentioned, Wemby saw the ball go in because he was scoring inside, then out. Now you're floating around trying to close out, and that's the one person you can close out all you want. He doesn't see you. So now he see the ball go in. Those 3 pointers are comfortable. Um, yeah, Coach Mitch definitely short up the rotation. But yeah, I think it like the Knicks look like they did before they kind of got right in the playoffs in terms of playing through Cat, where it was just too Brunson centric. And I don't think the Knicks get this. The Spurs are fine with it. To your point, Cardell, Cat and OG, those are the things that bother them. One of the things, hey man, if y'all gonna give OG the ball enough to put us asleep, we are at peace. The challenge is, Brunson, are you gonna give OG the ball? While you figure that out, let's get Cat out of that. And I thought they did a great job taking Cat out of it. And the Knicks aren't the same when they're not playing through Cat. And we saw that throughout. What do we keep saying every time we got on here during their crazy run through the Eastern Conference? Because that Hawk series was kind of janky at first. And then started playing through Cal. All of a sudden, eureka, things make sense. Now we just won however many playoff games in a row. Everything's great. And then Spurs, I think like maybe I thought maybe the second half of the game too, they were like, all right, yeah, we just need to take him out of this. And him being out of it, it looked like the janky team that was struggling with CJ McCollum at times. Is that offense is bad? Like there are a couple possessions, like people on Twitter is hilarious, but people found like several possessions. Jalen Brunson's dribbling the ball for 21 to 24 seconds. That's not okay. That's that's just not okay. And again, even with last night, like you wasted a hell of a game from OG Anunoby. Like you set that game on fire and threw it away, and you lost. Hell of a night from OG. Like that three he hit in the corner down the stretch was absurd, and it's gone. And then the other thing I think, like anytime it gets too Brunson centric, you kind of lose Mikal Bridges on the offensive end too. Um, but again, that's something they got to figure out. Looking forward to game 4, like you guys said. But yeah, I'm here for the physicality. And I think the other thing was with the Knicks, the Spurs aren't whoever you saw in the East. All they saw was physicality on the way here. And Cardo, to your point about the Spurs, kind of when they figure stuff out, we've also kind of seen that throughout the playoffs as well. They've had their youthful moments and things like that, and then when they kind of sort of figure out whatever it is with the opponent, they kind of laser focus. They kind of start rolling. And none of that's been easy, but yeah, man. I just think for the Knicks now you're in a situation where you got a must win game 4. Like the pressure's legitimately on you. And again, hate to be that person, but with your history, dropping game 4 at home, it's gonna get awfully tight out there. Like just again, you used to be a Knicks fan, just being honest. Like it's gonna get dark. You mess around and drop game 4. Just not my problem. I'm not concerned either way.
Already fighting after the loss last night. I mean, no telling what's gonna happen.
Man, I have no comments on that nonsense either. That's crazy. But Cardell, where you want to start with? Take the lead.
Whole lot of unnecessary foolishness these days. Yeah, man, there's so much stuff going on in sports, man. I guess since we talked about the W, we can start on that. And Caitlin Clark, you know, in a sense, clapping back after being called out for her latest demonstrative behavior that has drawn a lot of criticism from a lot of critics, and they are saying it detracts from the game. The WNBA star addressed the criticism after her game-winning three-pointer to beat the Mystics last night. Quote, "I don't think I would be as good of a player if I was very stoic and straight-faced all the time," Clark told reporters. "I think basketball is one of the best environments to do that because the fans are right on top of you. You get to see the player that you idolize. It's a little different than football or in baseball, like you're on the field or whatever it is. Basketball is one where you can feel like you're really connected and a part of the craze with your favorite player. And I think that's why a lot of people have enjoyed watching me over the course of my career, is that they've been able to enjoy the fun and enjoy the ride with me along the way." Do you think the criticism is warranted for her outbursts? You know, we all saw Stephanie White. We saw the one she walked past. I think it was Ty Harris, you know, trying to give her a high five. And obviously the constant going back and forth with the refs. Octavia, going to start with you. Do you feel like the criticism is warranted? And a two-part question. You know, do you feel like she should still be herself and play with that fire, or should she change something?
I think the criticism is warranted because I always tell people it's not always what you intend, but it's also what's perceived. And what's perceived is she's being a baby on the court half the time. And I mean, if she's okay with how she portrays herself, that's completely up to her. But it's going to have people talk. And that's good or bad. I don't agree with her and honestly, maybe it's her opinion, so I can't say I don't really agree, but I don't think that's what makes people want to watch her play. Like that's just me. Like I don't want to watch you play because you're yelling and whining and in your mind, I guess showing emotion. I guess. I know as a former female basketball player, there was always times where, you know, You yell and you scream, and everybody's like, calm down, act like a lady, make sure you keep it together. But then, the opposite side in the men's game, they yell, they scream. It is perceived as passion. But I think there's a way to do both. I do think sometimes she's over the top. And I mean, as far as complaining, whining, and then even sometimes I know they all like talk smack back and forth to each other, but I feel like sometimes she just be doing a lot of extra stuff. I don't know if it's just because it's her that I see it that way. So I'll digress in that absence, and that I could be wrong about that. I don't. I mean, if she wants to do that, she wants to be herself, but she also has to realize she has to take what comes with that, which is it's going to be something that people talk about. So if you're gonna stand 10 toes down and say this is me and this is how I want to be, then don't care what they say. Don't feel the need to have to address it. Just keep being yourself and do what you need to do. But I personally don't like it. It's the same way we talk about Luka. Like Luka crying at the refs bothers the hell out of me. I don't care if he's a man, a woman, purple, green, yellow, whatever. But it's the same instance in that. But the more she has to also realize that the eyes are heavily on her. Anything she does is going to be scrutinized, to be honest. And she has to make sure that she continuously puts herself in a good light. And sometimes I don't think she does. Prime example, the argument on the sideline with her head coach. Like, I know emotions get high and things like that. I'll be honest. That definitely happened to me as a kid in high school. I definitely have had screaming matches with my coaches on the sideline, but it was my dad, so I think I get a slight pass. Because he was off the hook. But yeah, I don't agree with it. I don't particularly like it, but I'm not watching the game for that. For me personally, I'm watching the game for the fundamentals and the actual game. But there are people who aren't watching the game. They're watching it for views and clicks and pop culture and stuff like that. So you got to kind of take the good with the bad.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is just like two things can be true at once. Like she is competitive. She's fiery. But a lot of times she's a petulant, spoiled brat. Like, we can just call it what it is, man. You can't if you're going to be if you're going to be a super competitive, fiery, intense player, you can't jerk your head back and flop every time you're touched. Like, I think that's what draws the criticism. Like, if that's the way you want to play, then you can't try to game the system like that. Just play basketball if that's what you're here to do. And then to because she dishes it out. When she has the ball in her hands, she's the aggressor a lot of times. That chicken wing gets extended a lot to give herself some separation. When she tries to mix it up, but when the fire is returned, then she kind of looks to the zebras for help. You can't do that. You can't, like, those two personality traits can't live in the same player and you be respected. That's just is what it is. We all play sports. You can't be both. Those two personalities can't be embodied in the same person. And if it is, people want to talk about it. So yeah, the criticism is warranted. Play the game straight up if that's what you want to do. And then yeah, the exchanges with her coaches and interactions with her teammates, that needs to be talked about as well. That's not how leaders behave. Players have intense interactions with their coaches. Some of them are respectful, some of them aren't. It's just the way you present yourself. It's possible to be competitive without coming off as bratty. And unfortunately, a lot of times she comes off as bratty. Octavia brought up Luka. I feel like it's the same with him in regards to how he engages with officials. We see players engage with officials all the time. not all players come off as whiny and complaining. You know, Paige talks a lot to officials. Nobody's ever going to accuse her of the stuff they're accusing Caitlyn of, and people can take that how they want. But they have completely different demeanor when they're having those interactions. So, yeah, man, if she wants to stand on it, then stand on it. But she got to understand the image she's putting out there is what people are going to talk about. So, if that's how she wants to proceed, then be my guest. But you got to understand that that the criticism is going to come, especially when you're not playing that well. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Wilson.
Yeah, you guys laid it out. Like this isn't that nice little cocoon in Iowa where you could do whatever the hell you wanted and nobody say anything to the contrary. This is the pros. Yeah, we can call it fire and passion, all that other stuff, and that's cool. And there's another side to those types of players too. Like as Ray mentioned, like yeah, if that's who you are, then yeah, when you get got, people tend to find that inside themselves to give back to you when you get got because you're that type of person. It's part of the game. So if that is what you choose, hey man, you gotta just like they're looking for you. Someone else brought up Luca. Like everybody just starts looking for you this year. Almost every game, every other team's just been like, "Where's she at?" It's like these are facts. So if you're cool with the fire and passion stuff, they're cool because they're passionately hunting you on the other end. So I guess we can live with it. But yeah, man, it's not Iowa, but like this to me, this is silly just because this is who she's always been. It's do something wild, hide your hands, call the teacher, the officials, what have you. But nah, man, she's a grown woman. Like it wasn't okay in college when you was acting like that. So yeah, it's like perception, all those wonderful things about perception. But like your actions, man. You just gotta own those. And as Ray said, like you can't have like those two polar opposites and put them in the same person. Be like, yeah, but nah, there's no yeah, but like you are that super fiery passion person or you're not. And if you are, you gotta live with it. There's consequences and negatives that come with everything. So that's the path you chose. Deal with it.
Y'all know I agree with everything y'all said. Just even being in the gym yesterday to see what the misses were doing to her defensively, it was bad. Yeah, she like the female Luca. It's literally at that level defensively, man. Uh, I wish, and it's not just for her. I wish more athletes would just be accountable for their actions. Just say I need to improve. Yeah, I mean, anybody walking this earth, perfect, man. But come on, man, you on TV all the time, acting like a child. And every time she does that, it reminds me of the image from the video where her father was in the gym and he was yelling for the crowd, "Shut up!" You see what I'm saying? Like I think it's doing the NCAA tournament game. It reminds me of that. You can't throw rocks and hide your hands. Eventually, people be like, "No, it's you. You threw the rock, so I'm about to throw all these rocks back at you." It's really that simple, man. Um, you can't get mad at everybody else because your defense hasn't improved. You got to get in the gym and work on those things. Can't get mad at your teammates when things aren't going well. That's not being a fiery competitor. I was super fiery and I crossed the line. I can admit that. Sometimes I did. But at the same time, I own that. She got to own that. And you got work to be better at that. Because people get tired of it. And people are already getting tired of it. It's old. When you see it, it's old. And I don't even want to throw the race card in it, but if sisters acted like that, what would be said? And with all the physicality you get, no one gets beat up like Asia Wilson. No one. Because she's so damn great, you gotta do something to even the odds. Because if you play it straight up, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be 30 and 20 every game type stuff. And even she rarely loses it. She just destroys people. with a smile and keeps it moving. So it's no excuse. It's no excuse, man. So things got to change. All the apologists and stuff like that, like you can't apologize. What's real is real. You could be a fan and still be like, they need to get better. Like, I think Michael Jordan the greatest player to ever play the game. But yeah, hell yeah, he crossed the line with teammates. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You know what I mean? He may justify something, but something nah. And Will Purdue said it on last night. He was a jerk. Yeah, he crossed the line many times. You see what I'm saying? So we know that, man. You know, like, you got to call a spade, man. You can't keep giving her a pass, man, because it's going to hold them back. See, that's the thing. You got to be able to check that at the door, the things that you weak at, because that could be used against you. And it could be used against you in many ways. It's not just from your opponents. Your teammates could be tired of you. Like, you show them up one time, game on the line, you curling over, you clapping your hands, man, hell, F her. I'm passing it the other way. And it's little things like that that can mess up a team. So if you're gonna be the leader and all that, yeah, you gotta get better in many ways and get better with your attitude, and you gotta get better on the other end of the floor. Because you can't hide in the playoffs. And with the physicality, how they can beat on you and stuff like that, and they getting up in you and stuff like that, you notice the shooting percentage to start the year ain't that great. So you gave up a lot of points last night. Luckily, I ain't got the stats. They don't really keep the same type of stats like they do the fellas, which is wrong, but it is what it is. I would love to know how many points were scored on you compared to what you put up. Because I know I know it's nasty. So you can't show people up when it's clear weaknesses in your game that impact the team overall that you got to improve. And intangible things starting with your attitude. It's as simple as that, man. You can't avoid that. So, we're going to move on. During a conversation with Time Magazine, LeBron James discussed the GOAT debate and more. I'm not taking nobody over me, quote, there's no question. While that initially appears both for the full-time NBA champion, elaborated. But I think Mike will say the same thing. The rest of so Kobe will say the same thing. Magic Johnson will say the same thing. Larry Bird will say the same thing. Shaq could say the same thing. The late great Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar explained James. Basically what he's saying, the idea that any great player will always choose themselves as the greatest of all time, underscoring the competitive nature of elite players. The names he mentioned are considered some of the best basketball players in NBA history, obviously. Last quote, I don't think none of us are going to take somebody else. If there's a general manager and he's eyeballing all of us on the baseline with the number one pick, it's going to be hard not to take me, champ. Added James. Ray, what are your thoughts on Mr. James' comments?
I think this is another example of not being able to stand on what you think. Why do you have to include other players' names in this? And they've all been asked that question, and none of them have said definitively that they're the best ever or what have you. I'm sure they believe it in the back of their mind. You can't reach that level without it, but as far as I can recall, he's the only one that's come out and said it about himself. So if you believe that, then say it and leave other people out of it. Like, I just don't get it. Yeah, man, I just want people to stop talking to him at this point. It's just the same recycled stuff over and over again. It's the same propaganda of trying to put yourself in a place that you haven't earned on the court, because if you did and you truly felt you did, you wouldn't speak this way. You would let the results speak for themselves, and that would be that. But here we are. So, but yeah, man, I didn't understand the need to include others into it and put words in their mouth when they physically themselves said the opposite of those words. So yeah, it's just a bunch of fluff.
Wilson.
Yeah, just another entry in the great narrative that started way back in 03. Yeah, man, I guess, man. Like, been trying to make a case for like what was this like 23 years? Like, hey, man. Like, I feel like if it was like an overwhelming case, you wouldn't have to convince me in a 23 year long PowerPoint case, PowerPoint presentation. Like, just leave us be with this, man. Like, I'm sure everybody felt like that. That's great, but however you got to talking about this, you were the one that came out on wax after you beat the Warriors with Harrison Barnes, and said that made you the GOAT. And then promptly afterwards ignored every reaction you had to what the next iteration of that team looked like. That was 8-1 against you in the finals. So I don't know what to make of it, sir. Just I'm happy you feel that way. But I often think that when it's one of those things, you're the best at what you do. I think like your game usually tells us, your peers usually tell us. But too often for me, it's always you telling me. So I usually just tune it out.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, what Ray and Wilson said. I'm exactly there. I'm tired of it, to be fair. Like Wilson just laid out 23-year long synopsis of trying to convince everybody else. Like we've talked about plenty of times in the past, like you guys just stated again. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like you shouldn't have to campaign this hard to get people to be on your side to a certain degree. And I say this with the most respect, not calling him this in that space, but the loudest one in the room is usually the weakest one in the room. Like I hear you, bro. We've heard you, bro. Like I don't know how many more times you want us to hear you, bro. Like, and I think Ray brought up a good point about him always trying to include other people in his nonsense, as far instead of just saying, like, if that's how you feel, stand on it and say it. But it's like I feel like every now and then, like in one mind he's trying to be himself, and then in his other mind, like he's trying to be like PR and relatable and not make everybody hate him and make sure he, stuff like that. So, but I'm tired of hearing about it. You're not going to convince me. I know I'm just little old me. That means nothing to you. I completely understand that, sir. But you ain't gonna convince me. I mean, so good luck with everybody else out there in the world that you are convincing. But yeah, it's just old and it's tired at this point. Um, and I hope he talks to his therapist about it.
Yeah, I've been over it. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I was raised off the real movement silence, man. You just don't. You just get it done, dog. There ain't nothing to talk about, man. It ain't just him trying to convince us. It's his agent. It's the whole camp. It's obvious people in media they have on payroll relationships with that go over the top with it. You got people that want to be on payroll. They just jumping on the bandwagon and stuff like you could just tell. Because it's never off a basis of what actually happens on the court. To me, in anything when it comes to sports, being the greatest all time for me is fairly simple. It's your individual dominance and how it equates to winning. That's my formula. It's simple as that. A lot of the players he named won more than him, and they were just as equally as dominant, if not more, in some ways. And the reason why Michael Jordan is the greatest to me because he was dominant in every way, and he's the only one out that group that never takes a defeat. Case closed. It's just not. It's not hard, man. And I seen both play live. Hell, I played against LeBron at 5-star. I saw when he was about to he was well on his way. And I tell the story all the time, like, damn, first time I said, like, damn, man, that dude played like Grant Hill. And Grant Hill was the baddest small forward in the league at the time. When we were in our 10th grade, when I was in high school and stuff like that, man. I was like, damn, he played just like him. So it wasn't a shock to me to see like the next a few months later or something, and he on ESPN and they comparing him to Jordan. He grew, he more athletic. It's like, all right, damn, he's starting to put it all together. I've seen him play in his prime. We covered many games of him, right? Like we've seen it. Oh, you're not better than Mike, man, but it's cool. I'm not even sure you're better than Jabbar. Like Jabbar was a bad mark. You see what I'm saying? It's just fine. My thing is, it's fine. You to go, LeBron. What does that change? People still gotta get up and go to work tomorrow. They gotta raise their kids. They try to make ends meet. Life gonna go on, man. Like I've never seen somebody campaign for anything for this long, man. Like, come on, man. And it's ironic. We're in the finals that everybody, for the most part, is excited to see. The Spurs, the young gun coming up, the young team coming up, and then you got the Knicks back in this mix. And then here come the clutch folks. Bringing up GOAT stuff and I'm this and I'm that. I'm like, my man, you got eliminated like a month ago, man. Come on, man. Why are we talking about this, man? Man, cool. I like that Time Magazine did something for this century, and he's the athlete of this century, basically 2000 on. Cool. He deserves that. He earned that. You might be able to say other athletes, maybe Serena, Tom Brady. It's a handful of athletes you could put it in. Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt, and all that. I get it. They ain't had the longevity that he has had. No doubt, man. Respect. That's warranted. Give you props for that. Let it go, man. And it's not somebody holding on. Like, believe me, and I'm gonna end it with this, and I always say this, man. Believe me, if somebody come along that's better than that bald head dude in Chicago, it will be a consensus. It will be undeniable. Everybody like, oh shit, what the heck? Like what we're starting to say about Wemby. It'll be like, young fella got a shot. If he gets stronger, he dominate and reach his potential, because what he can reach is something we really haven't seen. Like Ralph was knocking on it, but he got injured. But this kid can stay healthy and reach it. It could get scary, because what he could, like, even defensively, he could be raw as hell offensively. Defensively, he's an NBA player because of what he brings to the table. He literally is like Deion Sanders. He shuts down the court. So it's scary. But then you add in his skill set, what he do, I'm like, he got a shot. But again, it's a lot more to it than just dominating individually. You got to win. You got to win many times. And what LeBron don't understand is, what people don't respect a lot of blemish on his record, you took the easy way out on that road. You didn't endure. And see, that's what people don't respect. And that's why he keeps trying to convince it, because deep down, he knows it too. Because he even spoke in his article, I saw a quote where he talked about that. He was like, I think it's free agency. I think you should be able to team up and play who you are. It's a team sport. It's a team sport. You know, like, no one wins about itself. Well, if that's the case, why do you keep pumping yourself up as the reason why when things go well is you? Like, you can't have it both ways, man. So it's so self-serving, man, and it's just tiring, man. It's just like, bro, we tired of hearing about it, man. Damn, dog. Like, people want to. I'll close it with this, Wilson. People want to talk about what has hurt basketball talking points and conversations over the years and stuff. It's them. This wasn't going on when we were growing up. All this GOAT stuff, man, it just wasn't going on. Hell, even when Mike started taking over, we was like, bro, you got work to do to catch Magic and Bird. You got work to do, dog. You got work. You got to keep working. But then when we got 5 or 6, it was just like, you know what? Hit the game winner. Just like, hey, bro, respect. Ain't you the baddest mom? You respect. Ain't nothing we can say. Come on, man. Like, they ruined basketball discourse. They really did. Because we can't even sit and enjoy the game, get on social media without some nonsense about some GOAT jokes. Like, dog, I'm so tired of this. Like, we tired of. Can't even listen to Sirius XM radio without somebody coming over there about to go. You look on a podcast, certain people that play with Jordan or play with LeBron or something. What's one of the main questions I ask them? Who you think the GOAT is? It's them. It's just old, man, and it just takes away from basketball. Like, no disrespect, to all the other NBA players, right now it's about the Knicks and the Spurs. They're the last two standing. We'll holler at y'all next season, man. Like, that's just how it go, man. And that's the perks of what comes when you win. And that's how it should be, man. So yeah, man, fine. You got your Time magazine. I would just appreciate if they just be quiet for the rest of the summer and let sports just unravel and just we can enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
No, it's not gonna happen.
If only. If only. Yeah, we should just not be thinking about the rest of the teams until the draft near the end of the month. Instead, that is just very interesting timing for this drop. However, I will leave that alone because that's typically when weird things get dropped is when the other stuff's going on and they're not a part of it. But it is what it is. We appreciate you guys as always. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week, same time, same place. Um, y'all have a great week, and we'll see you soon.